All right, the Battling Buccos still in last place. Coming off a nice
You still have
streak.
Bucco fever, Richie, or is the fever broken yet?
No, I have Bucco fever, and this is why. I want the Pirates to have the #1 overall pick like you. I'm hoping, I'm looking forward to like 3 years from now, seeing what Ben Cherington can do. Obviously, I'm not optimistic. I know better, I know better about this season. But, I'm a
You're
big
trying to be
baseball
optimistic,
fan.
and I can respect it. I respect you for trying to be optimistic, Richie. I really do.
It's hard to be optimistic.
They make it difficult.
It's hard to be optimistic with this team, honestly, because I don't really see any optimism. There's not really one position, one guy. I mean, Josh Bell, he's going to be gone in a couple years. You can't even build a team around him.
Ben Cherington has it right. Ben Cherington's got it right. I think he is of the mindset that there's not one player on this roster that is nailed down, can't be moved. Not even Brian Reynolds, who had a good year last year, and we know how bad he struggled for the most part this year. I think if the GM operates with the idea that this is a potential liquidation sale, if somebody bowls him over for an offer for anybody on this roster, he'll take it. I think that is the right mindset. There is nothing really here that is worth keeping or worth saying we have to have this guy, he's a cornerstone piece. That is both sobering if you're a fan, and I think freeing if you're in the position of the man who has to try to rebuild this thing from the ground up.
Yeah, definitely sobering, Chris. And I look at it, how many years away are we? I think this is the worst position the Pirates have been in that I can remember, worse than the Lloyd McClendon days. I mean, there's nothing you can trade away to get anything for. Even a Josh Bell, what are you going to get for him? Brian Reynolds, I mean, you're going to get some young talent potentially, but not enough to fill a roster. Not enough to build a team or a franchise.
I mean, they're more bereft of talent now, I should say, than they were when Neil Huntington took over, because it turned out he had a future MVP in the minor leagues in Andrew McCutchen. He had a guy in Neil Walker that could never get along with Neil Huntington, but was a serviceable, solid enough major leaguer. He had a future NL home run king in Pedro Alvarez that he drafted with his first pick. I just see nothing like that on the horizon. I mean, Ke'Bryan Hayes, okay, that's one. You hope he's going to be good, but he's more glove than bat. O'Neal Cruz, nobody knows where or what he's going to become, like where on the field he'll play. And then what do you have, Quinn Priester? Travis Swaggerty, remember him? First-round pick. Have you heard a lick about him lately?
I mean, Mitch
Obviously,
Keller,
there's not
he's
minor
been
league
hurt.
baseball this year, but still. Mitch Keller, hurt. Right. So I would put them in worse position than when Huntington took over for sure.
I'm not sold on Brian Reynolds either. He had a great year last year, but, he's just below average this year. Let's go out to the only other person in Pittsburgh that has Bucco fever with me is Mike in Oakland. What's up, Mike? How you doing?
Rich, you know what? I listen to you, and I that's why I love you, man. I agree with like almost everything you say about the Pirates. I mean, I feel like we're on the same wavelength. I don't see this as any kind of even a reasonable time frame for a rebuild, man. I think this is going to be, we're looking at like 5 to 7 years. I mean, I don't mean to be so pessimistic, but, just what you said, we have nobody in the farm system. And, it's depressing. And I honestly, I don't know. I know it's early, but I'm not sold on this new regime. I mean, Nutting promised transparency and openness, and he still won't do interviews. He won't let people be available. And I'm just not that impressed with Shelton at all. I mean, Stallings is hitting 300, shockingly. He had 2 days off, and he puts John Ryan Murphy in the lineup tonight. It's those little things that make a difference. And I'm just sorry, I don't mean to ramble, but I'm frustrated. So I just want to hear your thoughts, but I'm not optimistic this team is going to be turning the corner anytime soon, at least till the late 2020s.
Yeah.
I'll let you go.
Thanks. Five years, I think, is really like the over-under I would set right now, Chris. And the one thing he brought up, interviewing Bob Nutting. To be honest with you, is there anyone out there that wants to interview him? Because when you ask him a question, he says the same thing and spins it. It's hard to interview the guy and get a straight answer from him. And I'm just being honest here.
I mean, I think he's the consummate owner as businessman, not owner as fan. I hear from enough people that he's competitive and wants to win. It doesn't come across in the way he gives interviews. As far as that quality, though, about any person, though, I think it's Ben Cherington that's a little bit troubling. He looks like a clone or sounds like a clone of Neil Huntington when he talks. I mean, there is just virtually nothing of substance divulged there. He's playing everything incredibly close to the vest. It does feel like more of the same when you're talking about this brain trust. If you believe Frank Coonelly, had too much baseball ops influence, like some people have said, then maybe the pleasant surprise here, or the pleasant difference, will be that Travis Williams hopefully stays away from it and lets baseball people do their jobs. But right now it feels like more of the same. And here's the other thing. You say over under 5 years. If you're looking at it, they're not going to compete next year. They're not. That seems like a fact. And we know that Neil Huntington, with some trades, some signings, not really signings, but some trades, turned the Pirates around relatively quickly. I see 2024, though, when I look in the crystal ball. And that's the first time I can envision them having collected enough players, having gotten themselves together enough to really compete. That's sad to say, but it also looks like the reality here. There's just not much in the cupboard.
Yeah, only thing I blame Ben Cherington for is that he just didn't come out and say right away that it's rebuild. I understand that they wanted to sell tickets and everything, and that message comes from the top, in my opinion. But I think
Isn't there a way to sell tickets, though, while you're saying you're rebuilding? I mean, can't you say, like, hey, we're going to get young, these are exciting players, Brian Reynolds just burst on the scene, we want you to come and watch him. Like, even if you trade him, so what? You can sell a rebuild. You're right. Let's go out to Allen Bethel Park. I know the Rangers did it. A couple other teams did it. The Brewers did it.
Hey, Rich, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Good. I know you and Bob always like to mention a salary cap. Mr. Mueller, I want to bring these names by you and see if anybody heard of these names. And look how they're being stars now and cost no money. Luke Voigt, Gio Urshela, Lorenzo Kane, Nelson Cruz. The point is, these guys were nothing 2 or 3 years ago, relatively cheap. Where would the Yankees be right now? Where would the Brewers be right now? Where would the Twins be right now without those guys? Pirates could have signed them. These guys had no career. Oh, Mike Trotman. These guys had no careers. Yankees signed them. Brewers signed them. Twins signed them. They cost no money.
Well, in Cruz's case, the DH being in Cruz's case, the DH not being in the NL hurts because Nelson Cruz is a guy that ideally you DH. But I mean, the Pirates did that. What you're describing here, these random sort of scrap heap players, when the Pirates traded for A.J. Burnett, they were trading for damaged goods. When they got Francisco Liriano, they were taking a flyer on somebody. When they signed Russell Martin to what is, I still believe, the biggest free agent contract in team history for somebody outside the organization, they were taking a chance. All three of those paid off in major ways. So I think that there's some validity to the names you're throwing out, just the general concept of try to find players that have been overlooked and get the most out of them. But right now, the Pirates are a far cry and a long way from that. Yeah, we see what they're doing right now, spending no money. Hopefully that they will spend money next year or the year after to try to fill in the gaps and compete with some of these younger guys. Now to our Tri-State Office Furniture tweet of the day. And this is from Will Allen, the former safety for the Steelers. If you don't know who Bill Nunn is, you have been under a rock. He's an architect to change the face of football, race integration, and sports. Thank you, Bill Nunn and the Steelers, for changing the game for all athletes. We're going to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls, some of your tweets coming up next.